My mother tried to rip my engagement ring off my swollen finger at Christmas dinner and snarled, "You feminist beach, you've destroyed everything I taught you." When my fiance begged her to stop, she screamed, "You destroyed my daughter. She was supposed to be pure." I didn't say a word. That was 8 months ago. This morning, she was begging to take back everything she did. My mom is the most backwards person I've ever met. Ever since me and my sister Elena were little, she would make us practice being perfect wives every single day. We had to walk around the house balancing books on our heads while carrying trays of food, and if we spilled even one drop, we'd have to scrub the entire kitchen mirror with a toothbrush. Our bedtime routine was literally practicing sentences like, "Whatever you think is best, honey," and "I'm sorry for speaking out of turn." And while I always felt gross doing it, Elena was mom's little housewife in training. By 15, she was ironing her boyfriend Derek's shirts every morning before school, and packing his lunches with little love notes that said stuff like, "I exist to make you happy." And instead of our mom being concerned that her teenage daughter was acting like a 1950s servant, she bought Elena a $300 KitchenAid mixer to award her. And even though I hated how my mom wanted me to act, I still wanted her validation. So I poured everything into school. I did extracurriculars, had a bunch of friends, was every teacher's pet. So when I finally got accepted into Northwestern's business school, my mom was the first person I told. "Congrats, honey, but I really wish you put this much effort into finding a nice boy to take care of," was all she said before throwing my acceptance letter into the trash. The breaking point came a week later. I came home to find Elena with a black eye, poorly covered with concealer. When I tried to talk to her about it, she actually laughed. "Oh, this? Derek just gets a little carried away sometimes. It's actually really sweet. It means he can't control himself around me because he loves me so much." That's when I knew I lost her. But if that's what my mom wanted, then I figured I should at least try to make her happy. So in the summer before moving out, I dated the worst guy I could find just to get one single approving nod from my mother. My BF Tyrone would check my phone, told me my friends were bad influences, made me share my location 24/7. I knew it was wrong, but when I brought him home for Independence Day, my mom's face lit up. She even hugged me for the first time in 3 years. Fast forward 4 years later, and I graduated with a bachelor's degree in finance. I had been in therapy for months, found an amazing partner named James. He was the oldest brother of 3 little sisters, and he treated me like a queen. Listened when I talked, actually made me laugh, planned every date. So when Christmas came around, I was actually excited. I thought maybe, just maybe, my family would see how happy I was. He kept reassuring me that things would be okay, and that my mom would love him. For a second, I actually believed him. So when I knocked on the door, I had more confidence than ever. But Elena was the one to open, and she looked like a ghost of herself. Bruises poorly covered with Dollar Tree concealer, walking with a limp she tried to hide. My heart shattered, and I guess hers did too, because as soon as she saw James help me with my coat, she gasped, "Oh my gosh, Mia, you're emasculating him in public?" James politely introduced himself and mentioned how proud he was of my promotion. That's when my mom's face went from a fake smile to pure rage. "A real man doesn't let his woman outshine him," she hissed while grabbing my wrist so hard it left marks. And that's when she noticed my engagement ring. "You feminist beach, you've destroyed everything I taught you," she then screamed while literally trying to rip the ring off my finger. Elena jumped up and grabbed my shoulders to hold me still while mom kept pulling, except she was pulling so hard my finger was turning purple. James immediately called 911 while trying to pull them off me. I figured by this point my parents would realize they were assaulting me, but no. My mom grabbed a kitchen knife and lunged at James. "You destroyed my daughter. She was supposed to be pure." Meanwhile, my finger felt like it was being torn off and I couldn't stop screaming. Luckily, the cops arrived fast, and by the time the paramedics checked me out, my finger was dislocated and deeply cut from the ring being forced off. By the time the substances wore off, I was furious. My mom kept calling me. James was telling me he's sorry for embarrassing me and asking me if I was sure I still liked him. But all the noise around me simply came in one ear out the other, because I was going to have a relationship with James, and I was going to make my family back off. And make my family back off I did. I blocked every single number. Mom, Elena, even distant relatives who might pass messages. James helped me change all my passwords and set up new email accounts. My hands shook as I deleted years of photos from my phone, but each deletion felt like cutting a rope that had been strangling me. The first week was quiet, too quiet. I threw myself into work, staying late at the office to avoid thinking about what happened. My finger still throbbed where the ring had been forced off, and James bought me a simple chain to wear it on until the swelling went down. My coworkers noticed the bandage, but I just said kitchen accident and changed the subject. Then Thursday morning, my boss McCatherine called me into her office. She had this weird expression, like she'd eaten something sour. "Mia, I received a concerning call about you yesterday. Your mother claims you stole family heirlooms worth thousands of dollars." My stomach dropped. I gripped the armrest of the chair until my knuckles went white. "That's not true. I haven't taken anything from them." She also mentioned you might be having some mental health challenges, said you've been acting erratically, that your boyfriend is controlling you. McCatherine leaned back in her chair, studying me. "Now, I've worked with you for 2 years. This doesn't sound like you, but I had to ask." I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and showed her the police report from Christmas. Her eyes widened as she read about the assault, the dislocated finger, the knife. "I'm trying to get a restraining order. She's lying because I cut contact." McCatherine's face softened. "I'm sorry you're dealing with this. But Mia, she called 3 times yesterday. My assistant fielded 2 more calls this morning. If this continues, it could affect your promotion review." I left her office feeling sick. 3 years I'd worked for that promotion. 3 years of 60-hour weeks, perfect presentations, bringing in new clients, and my mother was trying to destroy it with a few phone calls. James was waiting in the parking lot with coffee and my favorite sandwich. He'd started doing that, showing up when he knew I'd need support. "How bad?" he asked as as I slumped into the passenger seat. She's calling my work, making up lies about theft and mental problems. I took a shaky sip of coffee. McCatherine believes me for now, but if this keeps up, we're filing harassment charges today, James said firmly. My sister Ashley works at a law firm. She can help us figure out the paperwork. Ashley turned out to be a godsend. She was the middle sister, sharp as a tack with wild curly hair and a no-nonsense attitude. She sat us down at her kitchen table that evening with a stack of forms and a recorder. Document everything. Every call, every contact attempt, every lie. We're building a paper trail. I spent hours writing out dates and incidents while Ashley organized everything into neat folders. James sat beside me, occasionally squeezing my shoulder when my hand cramped from writing. By the time we finished, we had 20 pages of documentation going back years. This is good, Ashley said, scanning through everything. Shows a clear pattern of escalation. We'll file first thing tomorrow. But my mother escalated faster than we could file paperwork. Saturday morning, I woke to pounding on our apartment door. Not knocking, pounding. James checked the peephole and immediately pulled me back into the bedroom. Stay here. It's the police. My heart hammered as he went to answer. I could hear muffled voices. Then James saying loudly, no, she's not being held against her will. This is harassment. I threw on clothes and walked out to find 2 officers in our living room. The older one looked tired, like he'd dealt with this too many times. Ma'am, we received a report that you're being held hostage by your boyfriend. Your mother says he's abusing you. She's lying. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I have a police report from where she assaulted me on Christmas. She dislocated my finger trying to rip off my engagement ring. I showed them the report, the photos of my injured hand, the documentation Ashley helped us prepare. The officers exchanged looks. The younger one actually sighed. Third wellness check this week that turned out to be family drama. Ma'am, you might want to consider a restraining order. We're working on it, James said. After they left, I couldn't stop shaking. James made tea while I sat on the couch, wrapped in the blanket his grandmother had made. She told our neighbors I'm abusing you. Mrs. Chen was watching through her peephole when the cops came. The next few days blurred together. More calls to my work, more police visits. My mother had apparently made friends with several neighbors, spinning tales about her poor daughter trapped by a controlling man. Mrs. Chen started avoiding me in the hallway. The guy from 3B asked James if everything was okay at home, with this look like he was ready to throw hands. Then Elena started calling. Not my number. She knew I'd blocked her. She called James's phone, leaving voicemails that he'd play for me with the volume low. Mia, this is all your fault. Derek left me. He said our family is too much drama, that it makes him look bad. You ruined everything. If you just played along, none of this would have happened. Her voice sounded slurred in the messages, like she'd been drinking. You think you're so much better than us with your fancy degree and your feminist boyfriend, but you're going to end up alone, just like me. Derek was the only man who ever loved me, and you drove him away. I wanted to scream that Derek was an abuser, that she was better off without him, but what was the point? She'd made her choice long ago. The harassment charges were filed on a Tuesday. Ashley walked us through every step, making sure we had copies of everything. The clerk at the courthouse looked at our stack of evidence and whistled low. This is thorough. Good job documenting. But filing charges just made my mother more creative. Thursday afternoon, McCatherine called me in again. This time, she looked genuinely concerned. Mia, I need to tell you something. Your mother has been calling other departments. She told accounting you embezzle. She told HR you sell substances in the parking lot. She even called our biggest client claiming you've been stealing their data. I sank into the chair, feeling like the floor had dropped out. I'm so sorry. I have harassment charges filed. I'm trying to stop her. I know. I've spoken to legal and they're aware of the situation. But Mia, she paused, choosing her words carefully. The promotion committee meets next week. This kind of disruption, even though it's not your fault, it doesn't look good. I left work early, sitting in my car in the parking lot trying not to cry. 3 years of work, about to be destroyed because my mother couldn't accept that I wanted a different life. When I got home, James was on the phone with Ashley. His face was grim. She started telling people in your hometown that you joined a cult. My mom just got a call from her hairdresser asking if it's true that I'm a cult leader who brainwashed you. I laughed, but it came out hysterical. A cult? That's her explanation for me not wanting to be abused? Apparently feminism is the cult, Ashley said through speakerphone. She's telling everyone you've been indoctrinated by radical feminists at college and James is your handler or something. The calls kept coming. The lies got wilder. My mother claimed I was on substances, that I was pregnant with another man's baby, that James was forcing me into prostitution. Each story was more outrageous than the last, but people listened. People always listen to a crying mother worried about her daughter. My promotion review was pushed back indefinitely. McCatherine tried to be supportive, but I could see the strain in her face every time my mother's calls disrupted the office. Security had to start screening calls. The receptionist began recognizing my mother's voice and hanging up immediately. Then came the wedding planning. James and I had decided on a simple courthouse ceremony. After everything with my family, a big wedding felt like inviting disaster. We picked a date 3 months out, filed the paperwork quietly, and told only his sisters and a few close friends. But somehow, my mother found out. I was at work when Ashley called, her voice tight with anger. Mia, does your mother have a cousin who works at City Hall? Because someone just told her about your marriage license application. My blood ran cold. Cousin Thon, he works in records. Well, Cousin Thon just became an accessory to harassment. Your mother knows your wedding date, time, and location. James picked me up from work early. We drove straight to the courthouse to see if we could change the date, but the clerk shook her head. You'd have to reapply, pay new fees, wait another 3 days, and if someone's already checking records, they'll just find the new date too. We sat in the courthouse lobby, trying to figure out options. Eloping to Vegas felt like running away. Having security at a courthouse wedding felt insane. But what choice did we have? We stick to the plan, James said finally. Let her show up. Let her make a scene. More evidence for the restraining order. But I knew my mother. A scene was exactly what she wanted. The weeks leading up to the wedding were a special kind of hell. The police visits increased. My mother had perfected her concerned mother act, showing up at our apartment complex at all hours to tell anyone who'd listen that her daughter was in danger. The property manager started sending us warnings about disturbances. Elena's voicemails got nastier. You know Derek's brother Brandon is single? Mom thinks he'd be perfect for you. A real man who knows how to keep a woman in line, not like that pathetic excuse you're with. I played the message for Ashley during one of our legal prep sessions. She shook her head in disgust. Save everything. The judge needs to hear how they talk about you. Work became my only escape, but even that was tainted. I'd catch coworkers whispering, see the pitying looks when they thought I wasn't watching. My mother had called so many times that everyone knew my business. The drama girl with the crazy family. 2 weeks before the wedding, James's parents offered to let us stay with them, just until things calmed down. His mom, Catherine, said gently, "You both look exhausted." We packed essentials and moved into their guest room. It felt like hiding, but at least the police couldn't find us there for wellness checks. At least my mother couldn't pound on the door at 3 a.m., but she found other ways. My work email started getting flooded with responses to job applications I hadn't sent. Apparently, I'd applied to every adult entertainment venue in the city. The emails were explicit, asking about my experience and willingness to perform. It had to get involved to trace the source. The applications came from an IP address registered to your childhood home, the IT guy told me quietly. Might want to change all your passwords again. James helped me lock down everything. New passwords, two-factor authentication, security questions my mother couldn't guess, but the damage was done. People at work looked at me differently now, wondering what kind of person attracts this level of drama. A week before the wedding, McCatherine called me in one last time. "Mia, I'm going to be straight with you. The promotion is off the table for now. Not because of your performance, but the board feels this situation has become too disruptive. Maybe next year, once things have calmed down." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. 3 years of work, gone, because my mother couldn't accept that I didn't want to be abused. James held me that night while I cried angry tears into his chest. His sisters surrounded us, Ashley reviewing legal documents while the youngest, Victoria, made endless cups of tea. They'd become the family I'd always wanted, supportive and kind and normal. "We could postpone the wedding," James suggested gently. "Wait until the restraining order goes through." No, I wiped my eyes, feeling something harden inside me. She's taken my promotion. She's not taking this too. The morning of our wedding dawned gray and drizzly. Perfect weather for what was about to happen. Ashley had arranged for courthouse security to be on alert. James's parents and sisters would be our only guests, our witnesses to whatever chaos my mother had planned. We arrived early, going through security and finding our assigned courtroom. Every footstep echoed in the marble hallway. Every opening door made my heart race. But for 20 minutes, nothing happened. Just us and the people who actually loved us, waiting for our turn with the judge. Then the doors burst open. My mother stormed in wearing her best church dress, the one she saved for trying to impress people. Behind her was Elena, glassy-eyed and unsteady, and a man I'd never seen before who must have been Brandon. He looked like Derek, but softer, like someone had put Derek's face on a teddy bear. "Stop this blasphemy right now." My mother's voice echoed off the walls. "My daughter is clearly not in her right mind." Security moved immediately, but my mother was faster. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in through my sleeve. "Mia, baby, this isn't you. This man has poisoned your mind. Brandon here is willing to forgive everything, to take you back to the right path." Brandon stepped forward with this rehearsed smile. "Hi, Mia. Your mother's told me so much about you. I think we could be really happy together. I know how to handle a strong-willed woman." James moved between us, his voice deadly calm. "Let go of her. Now. You shut your mouth." My mother whirled on him. "You're not man enough for my daughter. You let her work. Let her think she's equal. Brandon knows a woman's place." Security finally reached us, pulling my mother back. She fought them, screaming about brainwashing and cults and feminism destroying families. Elena stood there swaying, occasionally adding slurred comments about real men and proper wives. "Ma'am, you need to leave," the security guard said firmly. "You're disrupting court proceedings." "I'll contest this marriage," my mother shrieked as they dragged her toward the door. "She's mentally incompetent. Feminism has poisoned her mind. This isn't legal." The doors closed on her threats, but we could still hear her screaming in the hallway. The judge, who'd watched the whole thing with raised eyebrows, cleared his throat. "Would you like a few minutes?" "No," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. "We'd like to get married now." The ceremony was short and sweet. James's family cried happy tears while we exchanged rings, the same rings my mother had tried to destroy. When the judge pronounced us married, I felt something inside me finally break free. Not broken, but free. We were walking out, officially married, when Ashley's phone rang. She listened for a moment, then her face went pale. "That was my office. Your mother just submitted paperwork trying to get power of attorney over you. She's claiming you're mentally incompetent due to feminist indoctrination." I stopped in the middle of the courthouse lobby, feeling the weight of it all crash down. The harassment, the lost promotion, the constant attacks, and now this. My own mother trying to legally control me because I wouldn't submit to abuse. She listed Elena as a supporting witness. Ashley continued, "They're claiming you need intervention before you hurt yourself or others." James's hand found mine, solid and warm and real. His family surrounded us, protective and furious on my behalf. And in that moment, I made a decision. "Okay," I said, squaring my shoulders. "If she wants a legal fight, she'll get one. I'm done running. I'm done hiding. She wants to prove I'm crazy? Let her try." Ashley smiled, sharp and lawyer-like. "Good, because I've been documenting everything. Every call, every lie, every police visit. We're going to bury her in evidence." As we left the courthouse, officially married and ready for war, I thought about the girl I used to be. The one who practiced saying, "Whatever you think is best, honey," until the words felt like poison in her mouth. That girl was gone, replaced by someone someone who knew her worth. My mother had tried to break me. Instead, she'd helped forge me into someone stronger, someone who wouldn't apologize for existing. The war was just beginning, but for the first time, I was ready to fight. The next morning, Ashley had us in her office by 8 a.m. She'd pulled in favors to get an emergency consultation with her firm's senior partner, a woman named McCatherine, who specialized in family law and harassment cases. McCatherine reviewed our documentation with laser focus, occasionally making notes in the margins. Your mother's power of attorney filing is concerning but poorly executed, McCatherine said, tapping her pen against the desk. She's claiming mental incompetence based on ideological differences. No judge will take that seriously, but we need to respond aggressively. She outlined our strategy while I took notes with shaking hands. File counter documentation from my therapist. Gather character witnesses from work. Submit evidence of my academic achievements and professional success. Build an overwhelming case that I was not only competent, but thriving despite my family's interference. James squeezed my hand under the table. What about the harassment at her workplace? Can we use that? Absolutely. In fact, it strengthens our position. McCatherine pulled out more forms. We're going to file for an emergency restraining order based on the courthouse incident and workplace harassment. The power of attorney attempt shows escalation. We spent 3 hours in that office, signing documents and providing evidence. The retainer fee made me wince. There went half my savings for the honeymoon we'd planned. But what choice did I have? That afternoon, I returned to work to find McCatherine waiting by my desk. My stomach sank. Had my mother called again? Mia, we need to talk about yesterday, she said, but her expression was softer than I expected. It finished their investigation. Your mother sent those inappropriate job applications from her home computer. We're pressing charges for identity theft and cyber harassment. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. I'm so sorry about all of this disruption. Stop apologizing. McCatherine's voice was firm. You're being stalked and harassed. HR wants to implement new security protocols. Your mother and sister are banned from the premises. If they show up, security will call the police immediately. But my mother was always 2 steps ahead. 3 days later, I was presenting quarterly reports to our biggest client when the conference room door burst open. My mother stood there in her Sunday best, Elena beside her looking hollow-eyed and desperate. There she is! My mother's voice filled the room. My poor daughter who's been brainwashed by feminists. We're here to save you, honey. The clients, 2 older men in expensive suits, looked between us in shock. I stood frozen, my presentation remote slipping from my hand. Mia needs help, Elena added, her words slightly slurred. She's been poisoned against her family, against God's plan for women. Security arrived within minutes, but the damage was done. My mother managed to shout about my mental illness and dangerous lifestyle before being dragged out. Elena stumbled after her, crying about how I'd ruined her life. The clients left immediately. The contract worth $2 million walked out with them. McCatherine found me in the bathroom 20 minutes later, dry heaving into the toilet. The clients called. They're pulling the account, said they can't work with a company that has security issues. I wanted to scream, to rage, to drive to my mother's house and shake her until she understood what she'd done. Instead, I sat on the bathroom floor and felt everything crumbling around me. Take the rest of the week off, McCatherine said gently. We'll figure this out. But there was nothing to figure out. My mother had cost the company a major client. No matter how understanding McCatherine tried to be, I knew my career there was over. James picked me up, his face grim. Ashley called. The restraining order was approved. Your mother and Elena can't come within 500 feet of you, your home, or workplace. Small comfort when my workplace might not want me anymore. The restraining order just made my mother more creative. She couldn't approach me directly, so she went after everyone around me. James's elderly landlord, Mrs. Richardson, called him the next day. Your mother is very worried about you, she told me when I answered James's phone. She says you're in danger. That nice woman explained how that man is controlling you, keeping you from your family. Mrs. Richardson, she's lying. We have a restraining order against her because she attacked us. Oh dear. The elderly woman sounded confused, but she seemed so concerned. She even showed me pictures of you as a little girl, said she just wants her baby back. James spent an hour on the phone with Mrs. Richardson, explaining the situation, but the seed of doubt was planted. Every time we saw her in the hallway, she watched us with worried eyes. Then came the honeymoon disaster. We'd scaled back our plans drastically. No tropical vacation, just a quiet weekend at a cabin 2 hours north. We needed the peace, the chance to just breathe without looking over our shoulders. We'd been there exactly one night when the police showed up. We received a report of a kidnapping, the officer said, hand resting on his weapon. A woman named Mia being held against her will. I stood there in my pajamas, wedding ring glinting in the porch light. I'm Mia. This is my husband. We're on our honeymoon. Ma'am, we need to verify that you're here voluntarily. Can we speak to you privately? They separated us, asking me the same questions over and over. Was I being threatened? Did I need help? Was I afraid? Meanwhile, James sat in the police car while they ran his background check. My mother filed a false report, I explained for the 5th time. We have a restraining order. She's trying to ruin our honeymoon. The officers finally believed me after I showed them the court documents on my phone, but the damage was done. We spent our honeymoon night giving statements instead of celebrating our marriage. I can't do this anymore. I sobbed into James's chest when the police finally left. She's never going to stop. Never. Yes, she will, James said firmly. We're going to make her stop. But how do you stop someone who believes they're saving you? The social media campaign started the following week. Elena, suddenly very active online despite barely using social media before, began posting constantly. Pictures of Brandon, Derek's brother, with captions about real men who know how to lead. Posts about the dangers of feminism. Prayer requests for her lost sister trapped in a toxic relationship. My phone buzzed with notifications from concerned acquaintances. Former classmates asking if I was okay. Distant relatives offering to pray for my soul. Each message felt like another cut. Then Brandon started showing up places. places. First at the coffee shop where James and I had our morning ritual. He just happened to be there, reading a newspaper and watching us over the top of it. Then at the grocery store, always one aisle over. At the park where we walked on Sundays. He's not technically violating the restraining order, Ashley explained when we called her. He's not approaching you or making contact. We can document it, but unless he escalates. Living under surveillance was exhausting. We started varying our routines, taking different routes, shopping at different stores. But Brandon always found us. My mother might have been restrained by the court order, but she'd found her proxy. The breaking point came when I discovered the extent of my mother's sabotage. I was cleaning out my old email account, the one my mother had used to send those job applications, when I found the sent folder. Hundreds of emails, resignation letters to my employer, inflammatory messages to professional contacts, emails to my college professors claiming I'd cheated on exams. She's been doing this for weeks, I told James, scrolling through message after message, maybe months. Look, she emailed my internship supervisor from 3 years ago saying I stole from the company. My professional reputation, carefully built over years, systematically destroyed by my own mother. Ashley helped us document everything for the criminal case. Identity theft, cyber harassment, defamation. The charges were piling up, but my mother remained convinced she was saving me. The preliminary hearing was a circus. My mother arrived with a group from her church, all wearing matching t-shirts with Bible verses about honoring thy father and mother. Elena sat in the front row, her new boyfriend Brandon beside her, both glaring at me like I was the devil incarnate. My daughter has been brainwashed, my mother told the judge, tears streaming down her face. That man has poisoned her mind with feminist ideology. She needs intervention before it's too late. My therapist testified about my mental health, confirming I was of sound mind and had been dealing with family trauma. My mother actually laughed during her testimony. Of course the therapist supports her delusions, she said loudly. They're all part of the same feminist agenda. The judge had to call for order multiple times. When Elena took the stand, she could barely stay focused, rambling about how I'd destroyed her life by making Derek leave. He said our family was too dramatic, she slurred. Said it made him look bad at work. But it's all Mia's fault. If she'd just been a proper woman, none of this would have happened. Then came the revelation that changed everything. During cross-examination, Ashley asked Elena about Derek leaving. When exactly did Derek say your family was too dramatic? After Mom called his work, Elena hiccuped. She wanted to tell his boss what a good wife I was, but they said she was crazy and she trailed off, realizing what she'd just admitted. My mother had sabotaged Elena's relationship just like she was sabotaging mine. The difference was Elena's abuser had left while James had stayed. How many times did your mother call Derek's workplace? Ashley pressed. I don't know. A lot. She said she was helping, showing them what a devoted girlfriend I was, but Derek got fired and Elena started crying. He left because of her, not Mia, because of Mom. The courtroom erupted, my mother screaming that Elena was confused, the church group praying loudly, Brandon trying to comfort Elena while she pushed him away. When order was restored, the judge looked exhausted. I've seen enough. The restraining order is extended for 2 years. Criminal charges will proceed. And ma'am, he looked directly at my mother, I strongly suggest you seek professional help. I don't need help, my mother screamed as court officers moved to escort her out. My daughters need help. They're both possessed by feminist demons. Elena didn't leave with them. She sat in the courtroom after everyone filed out, staring at her hands. I approached cautiously, James beside me. He hit me because he was stressed about work, she said quietly. And Mom kept calling, making it worse. She got him fired, Mia. She destroyed my life too. It's not too late, I said gently. You can get help. Start over. Elena looked at me with hollow eyes. I don't know how to be anything else. She trained us our whole lives. I don't know how to not be this. We got Elena into therapy that week. The same therapist who'd been helping me work through our childhood trauma. It was a start, but I knew the road ahead would be long. My mother, meanwhile, escalated one final time. I came home from a job interview. McCatherine had given me a glowing reference despite everything, to find our apartment door slightly open. James was still at work. My heart pounded as I pushed the door wider. The destruction was methodical. Every piece of professional clothing I owned was shredded and scattered across the bedroom. Business suits cut to ribbons, blouses torn apart. Each piece had a Bible verse attached about women's submission and obedience. But it was the message written in lipstick on the mirror that broke me. I brought you into this world. I can take you out of it. Security footage showed my mother using Elena's key, the spare key I'd forgotten she had. She'd spent 2 hours methodically destroying everything that represented my professional life. This is evidence, the detective said, photographing everything. With the death threat and breaking and entering, she's looking at real jail time. But I didn't feel victorious. I sat among the ruins of my wardrobe, holding a piece of what used to be my favorite interview suit, and just felt tired. James found me there an hour later. He didn't say anything, just sat beside me and held me while I cried. His sisters arrived soon after, Ashley with legal documents, Victoria with tea and cookies, the third sister, Jenny, with bags of clothes from her own closet. We're your family now, Catherine said firmly, James's mother having arrived with homemade soup. That woman gave birth to you, but she's not your mother. Not anymore. The trial was set for 3 months later. My mother was released on bail with strict conditions. No contact, no coming within 1,000 feet, no internet access. But I knew it wasn't over. It would never really be over. Elena moved in with us temporarily while she got back on her feet. She was trying, going to therapy twice a week, getting sober. Some days were better than others. Some days she'd rage about how I'd ruined everything. Other days she'd cry and apologize for helping our mother hurt me. I see it now, she told me one evening. Both of us curled up on the couch with tea. The training, the control. It wasn't love. It was never love. No, I agreed. It wasn't. My career slowly recovered. A smaller firm hired me. Understanding about the situation after McCatherine's reference explained everything. It wasn't the promotion I'd worked for, but it was a fresh start. James and I found a new apartment in a security building with cameras and a doorman. We changed our phone numbers, abandoned social media, created new routines. We built a fortress around our life, protecting the peace we'd fought so hard to find. But sometimes, late at night, I'd wake up thinking I heard pounding on the door. Sometimes I'd see a woman who looked like my mother at the store and have to leave my cart behind. The trauma lingered, even as we tried to move forward. She trained us to be victims, Elena said during one of her clearer moments. And when you refused, she couldn't handle it. As the trial date approached, I prepared myself for one final confrontation, one last battle before I could truly be free. My mother had tried to break me, control me, destroy everything I'd built, but I was still standing, bruised, exhausted, but standing. And I was ready to fight one last time. The trial date arrived faster than expected. 3 months of preparation, therapy sessions, and sleepless nights all led to this moment. I wore one of Jenny's suits, navy blue, professional, nothing like the shredded remains my mother had left behind. Elena sat with us on the prosecution side, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She'd gained weight in therapy, looked healthier, but her eyes still darted nervously toward the defense table where our mother would sit. The courtroom filled quickly. My mother's church group occupied several rows, their matching prayer shawls creating a sea of beige. Brandon sat among them, still wearing that unsettling smile whenever he caught my eye. My mother entered with her lawyer, dressed conservatively in black. She'd lost weight, her face gaunt and hollow. When she saw Elena sitting with me, her expression twisted into something ugly. The prosecutor, a no-nonsense woman named Johnny, laid out the case methodically. The Christmas assault, the workplace harassment, the false reports, the break-in and property destruction. Each charge supported by documentation, security footage, witness testimony. McCatherine testified about the lost client, the constant disruptions, the damage to company operations. She kept her testimony factual, professional, but I could see the frustration in her eyes when she described the $2 million contract walking out the door. Mrs. Richardson took the stand next, explaining how my mother had approached her multiple times, crying about her kidnapped daughter. The elderly woman seemed confused by the whole situation, kept asking the judge if she'd done something wrong by listening. Then came the security footage from my apartment. The courtroom watched in silence as my mother methodically destroyed every piece of professional clothing I owned. The precision of it, the time she took attaching Bible verses to each ruined garment. When the camera caught her writing the death threat on the mirror, several jury members visibly recoiled. My mother's defense was exactly what I expected. Her lawyer painted her as a concerned parent, driven to extremes by worry for her daughter's safety. They brought character witnesses from her church, each testifying about what a devoted mother she'd always been. She just loves her daughters so much, one woman testified. Sometimes that love makes people do desperate things. But the prosecution had Elena. My sister took the stand on day 2, wearing a simple dress that covered the fading bruises on her arms. She spoke quietly at first, describing our childhood training. The books balanced on our heads, the practiced phrases of submission, the way our mother rewarded compliance and punished independence. She called Derek's workplace 17 times, Elena said, her voice growing stronger. I counted later, went through his phone records, 17 times telling his boss what a good girlfriend I was, how I ironed his shirts and packed his lunches. They fired him for the disruption. The defense attorney tried to shake her testimony, suggesting she was confused, manipulated by me, but Elena held firm. My mother didn't save me from Derek. She drove him away with her interference, just like she's trying to destroy Mia's life. The only difference is Mia found someone strong enough to stay. My mother couldn't contain herself. She stood up, pointing at Elena. You ungrateful child. I gave you everything. I taught you how to be a proper woman. The judge called for order, threatened contempt charges, but the damage was done. The jury had seen the real woman behind the concerned mother mask. I testified last. Johnny walked me through everything chronologically, letting the evidence speak for itself. When we reached the part about the destroyed wardrobe, she had me identify pieces of clothing from the evidence photos. This was my interview suit, I said, holding up a photo of navy fabric cut to ribbons. I wore it to every important meeting for 3 years. And this? Johnny held up another photo. My Northwestern graduation dress. My mother didn't attend the ceremony, but I kept the dress anyway. The defense's cross-examination focused on my radical feminist beliefs and how I'd abandoned family values. They tried to paint me as an ungrateful daughter who'd chosen career over family. Isn't it true you refused to date men your mother approved of? The defense attorney asked. My mother approved of men who controlled and monitored me. So yes, I refused. And you chose to pursue a career instead of starting a family? I chose to pursue both. I have a career and a loving marriage. They're not mutually exclusive. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Elena and I waited in a small room with James and Ashley, drinking terrible courthouse coffee and jumping every time the door opened. My mother's church group held a prayer circle in the hallway until security made them move to the lobby. When the verdict came, I gripped James's hand so tight I probably cut off circulation. Guilty on all counts. Criminal harassment, cyber harassment, identity theft, breaking and entering, property destruction over $5,000, making criminal threats. My mother's face went white. She turned to stare at me as the judge read the sentences. 2 years for the combined harassment charges, 18 months for breaking and entering, 1 year for property destruction, 3 years for the death threat, to be served concurrently, with possibility of parole after 18 months. Additionally, the judge continued, the defendant is ordered to pay full restitution for damaged property and lost wages. The existing restraining order will be extended for 10 years upon release. They led my mother away in handcuffs. She didn't scream or cry, just stared at me with hollow eyes. The church group filtered out slowly, some crying, others muttering about injustice. Brandon lingered, approaching despite Ashley stepping protectively closer. This isn't over, he said quietly. Your mother was trying to save save you. Someone needs to continue her work. That sounds like a threat, Ashley said, already pulling out her phone. Would you like to repeat it for the police? He backed away, hands raised, that creepy smile finally faltering. The next few weeks felt surreal. My mother was actually gone, locked away where she couldn't reach me. No more wellness checks, no more workplace calls, no more looking over my shoulder. Elena struggled with guilt. Some days she'd blame herself for testifying. Other days she'd rage about the years of manipulation. Her therapist increased sessions to 3 times a week. I don't know who I am without her voice in my head, she told me one evening. Every decision I make, I hear her telling me I'm doing it wrong. Work gradually returned to normal. The whispers stopped. The pitying looks faded. McCatherine even mentioned that next year's promotion cycle looked promising, though we both knew it would take time to fully rebuild. James's family enveloped us completely. Sunday dinners at his parents' house became our new routine. His sisters included Elena in everything, teaching her that family could mean support instead of control. 6 months into my mother's sentence, I got a letter. The prison return address made my hands shake. James offered to read it first, but I needed to do it myself. It was exactly what I expected. No apology, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, just Bible verses about honoring thy mother and warnings about my eternal soul. She'd found religion in prison, she wrote. She was praying for my salvation. I burned it in the sink, watching the edges curl and blacken. Elena watched from the doorway. Did you read it? Yeah. And? Same old mom, still trying to save my soul. Elena laughed, but it sounded hollow. At least she's consistent. The first anniversary of the trial passed quietly. Elena had moved into her own apartment by then, a small studio she decorated with plants and photos of us. She'd started taking community college classes, thinking maybe about becoming a counselor herself. I want to help other women like us, she explained, the ones who don't know they're being abused because it looks like love. Brandon eventually stopped his surveillance after Ashley filed harassment charges. He found another woman to handle, according to Elena's sources. We hoped she'd escape faster than Elena had. My career slowly rebuilt. The promotion came through eventually. Not the one I'd originally wanted, but good enough. I learned to stop apologizing for the chaos my family had brought to the workplace. McCatherine became something of a mentor, sharing her own stories of difficult family members. The difference, she told me once, is that you stood up to yours. Not everyone has that courage. James and I renewed our vows on our 2nd anniversary. A proper ceremony this time, with his family and our chosen friends. Elena was my maid of honor, still fragile but standing tall beside me. No disruptions, no drama, just love and support and normal family joy. My mother served 18 months before parole. We learned about it through official channels. The victim notification system worked exactly as designed. She'd been released to a halfway house 2 states away, part of her parole conditions. The restraining order meant she couldn't return to our city for 10 years. Elena panicked when we got the notification. Old patterns die hard, and part of her still expected our mother to show up immediately. But days passed, then weeks, then months. No contact, no violations, just blessed silence. Maybe prison actually changed her, Elena said hopefully one day. I doubted it. More likely she'd found new people to control, new daughters to save. But that wasn't my problem anymore. The last I heard, through distant relatives who still sent occasional updates, she'd joined a new church in her halfway house city. She told everyone there about her 2 daughters who'd been led astray by feminism, how she'd tried to save them and been persecuted for it, how she prayed every day for their return to righteousness. Let her pray. Let her tell her stories to anyone who'd listen. She couldn't hurt us anymore.